जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधर्विक गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जो की जाय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जो की जाय। जय नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अशतर शत शिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गौर किशोर बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री रघुनाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानुगौरी गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री बलदेव विजयभूषण प्रभु की जाय। श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जाय। श्री नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्रय की जाय। श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी पाद की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोस्वामी प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामंदारी श्री प्रसाद वृंद की जाय। नाम अक्षय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। श्री रघुनंदन ठाकुर की जाय। तृतीय शुभ थिरुभाव तिथि की जाय। श्री वंशीदास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। तृतीय शुभ थिरुभाव तिथि की जाय। श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जाय। श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जाय। श्री चैतन्य चरितमृत की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
Hari Hari Bol.
हरि बोल। So stood. Okay. So if you're in our WhatsApp group, you might have seen, but if you're not in our WhatsApp group, I'm just letting you know. I am not going to do any kirtan today and no recap for the previous chapter. The reason is because today is the auspicious disappearance day of Śrī Raghunanadana Thakur and Śrī Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja, and so I want to have enough time to read about them. And yeah, let's see all who's here right now. So Pranams Kishore Prabhu and Champak Didi and Shubhananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And let's see who else is there. Karuna Didi and Vidya Lalasa Didi. Dandavat Pranams to both of you. Alright, so I'm going to read from this book, Śrī Caitanya and His Associates by Srimad Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Maharaj. I'll share my screen 1 second. Okay. Here we are, Śrī Raghunanadana Thakur. Yeah, Śrī Raghunanadana Thakur. His pastimes are so beautiful and endearing. 1 second. Okay, just making the text bigger so you can see it nicely. Okay. Chakre lila sahayam yo Radha Madhavayor Vraje Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata tanu sa eva Raghunanadana. The third member of the Chaturvyuha, Pradyumna, took part in Śrī Radha Madhav's Leela in Vraj as Krishna's intimate friend, or Priyanarmasaka. He has now appeared as Śrī Raghunandan, whose body is not different from that of Śrī Caitanya. That's from the Gurudeva, verse 70. Interesting. So he's Pradyumna, who is Cupid, and he has appeared. Oh, wait, is there a comment here? Oh, Hare Krishna, Champaktiri and Shubhananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay. Raghunandan's father, Mukunda Das. Raghunandan was born into a family of physicians, Vaidyas, in the Shaka era 1432. That's 1511 AD. What's the footnote here? Okay. It says, see chapter Narahari Sarkar Ṭhākura. His father's name was Mukunda Das. His mother's name is unknown. Mukunda Das was Narahari Sarkar Ṭhākura's older brother. In the 15th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is clearly said that Mukunda Das was the physician to the king. This is a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 15, verse 120. It says, externally, he appears to be engaged in government service as a physician to the king. But in his inner life, he is filled with divine love. Who can know the extent of his love? I think that's Mahaprabhu, right? Is that Mahaprabhu when he's glorifying his different associates at the after the end of Rath Yatra, or is it at the end of Chaturmasya when everybody's about to go back home, and then he goes through his different beloved associates and tells? I think that's the context of this. Once, when Mukunda Das was engaged in treating the king, he saw a peacock feather and fainted. This incident is also described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, same chapter, chapter 15 of the Madhya Lila. On the Burdwan Katwa rail line, Shripat Śrī Caitanya station comes first, and then the Śrī Caitanya. Okay. So it's easy to get to Śrī Caitanya by train. You just have to go on the Katwa rail line. Yeah, you don't need to get an expensive car or anything like that. You just go in Navadvīpa, pay whatever, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, and then you're there in Śrī Caitanya. Mukunda Das's home is about 1 mile from the Śrī Caitanya station. Raghunandan, okay, so whoever is here, maybe Kishore, when you're here next, maybe we can make a trip to Śrī Caitanya together, or anybody else. That'd be fun. Raghunandan Ṭhākura took birth on the Vasant Panchami day. His uncle Narahari took a great deal of interest in raising Raghunandan, for whom he had much affection. Kishore says, yay. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicated that one's seniority depends on the depth of devotion by telling Mukunda Das's son that he is really the father of... Mahaprabhu asked Mukunda, he said, I have some doubt. Are you the father of Raghunandan Ṭhākura, or is Raghunandan, or is Raghunandan the father? And so then Mukunda Das said, actually, Raghunandan is the father, and I am his son, because from that person from whom you get bhakti, that person is the real father. That person is like that, something like that. That's what I remember. The three most important devotees from Śrī Caitanya were Mukunda Das, Raghunandan, and Narahari. Mahaprabhu asked Mukunda Das, I didn't realize the story is going to be told. Are you Raghunandan's father and he your son? Or is he your father and you his son? Tell me so that I can put my doubts to rest. Mukunda answered, Raghunandan is my father and I am his son. Rest assured. Whatever devotion we have comes from him. Therefore, I see him as my father. When Mahaprabhu heard Mukunda Das's answer, he was thrilled and said, he from whom we imbibe devotion should always be considered our senior. That's from Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita, same chapter, chapter 15 of Madhya Lila, verses 112 to 117. Okay, now we come to this beautiful story, Raghunandan and the Gopinath Tirthi. Mahaprabhu gave Raghunandan the service of deity worship. He constantly engaged in the service of Sri Krishna. He had no other intentions. That's same chapter 15, verse 131. From Chaitanya Charitamrita. From his early childhood, Raghunandan Ṭhākura would feed the family's Gopinath deity ladus. Uddhav Das has written a song in which this Leela is described. And there's a beautiful recording of Suman Bhattacharya, who I'm not sure if he's bona fide in every way, probably like smokes beedies and stuff like that. But anyways, he sings this in such a beautiful melody, this song. I want to learn the melody for it because it's just like heart-melting, the melody. Mukunda Das lived in the village of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata with the household deity Gopinath. One day, he had to go somewhere for work, and he called Raghunandan to do the service. He said, "In this house, we worship Krishna, so I want you to be sure to give him something to eat." And then he left. Raghunandan did as his father had ordered and made the offering to the deity. Raghunandan was just a child, and in his simplicity, he said to Gopinath, "Eat, eat." Krishna is controlled by love, and so he did as the child told him and ate everything on the plate without leaving a grain of rice. When Mukunda Das returned, he asked the boy to bring him the prasad from the offering he made. The child answered, "Father, he ate everything and left no remnants." So that's the Bengali kirtan. Actually, I'd love to give the Bengali, learn how to sing it, and maybe I could send it out on the Gaudiya Kirtan mailing list sometime. Mukunda was so astonished at his child's wondrous words that he asked him to make another offering. This time, after he left the house, he returned and hid to watch what his son did. Raghunandan joyfully placed a laddu in Krishna's hand and said in a commanding voice, "Eat, eat." When Krishna had eaten half of the laddu, Mukunda Das came in the doorway. Mukunda saw that Krishna did not take another bite and that the half-eaten laddu remained in his hand. This caused him to be filled with love. He embraced his child, and as tears of joy rained from his eyes, he spoke to him in a broken voice. To this day, fortunate people come to Śrī Caitanya to see the half-eaten laddu in Gopinath's hand. Raghunandan is not different from Cupid himself, says Uddhav Das with great feeling. Okay, that was all from that kirtan. And he literally is Pradyumna Prabhu, who is Cupid. All the Mahantas felt fascinated to see the Gopinath deity, whom Raghunandan fed ladus. That's from Bhakti Ratnakar 9, verse 525. Other miraculous events. Narahari Sarkar Ṭhākura gave honey to Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu. That pond is there. Narahari Sarkar Ṭhākura gave honey to Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu from a pond right next to his home. This pond became known as Madhu Pushkarini. The legend is told that a kadamba tree, which grew right next to this pond, always had 2 flowers blooming, regardless of the season, by Raghunandan's miraculous powers. According to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidhan, another miraculous event took place in Raghunandan's life. One day, this place is there in Gauramandal, just nearby. One day, Abhiram Thakur came to Śrī Caitanya and paid his obeisances to Raghunandan. This is the Shripat also of Lochandas Thakur. And there's the Samadhi for all his granthas there also. So one day Abhiram Thakur came to Śrī Caitanya and paid his obeisances to Sri Raghunandan. Then he embraced him and melted with feelings of prem. Raghunandan started to dance and sing kirtan, and while doing so, one of his ankle bells slipped from his foot and went flying off, landing 4 miles away in Akaihat, near his disciple Krishnadasa's house. Later, in order to commemorate that event, a tank was excavated in that village and given the name Nupur Kund. Mahaprabhu, the father of Sankirtan, gave his adopted son Raghunanadana Ṭhākura, I love how he's referred to his adopted son, Raghunanadana Ṭhākura, the authority to offer the garlands So Mahaprabhu, the father of Sankirtan, gave his adopted son Raghunanadana Ṭhākura the authority to offer the garlands on the day before the Sankirtan Yajna, the Adivas, and to make the final offering at the Yajna's end. Raghunanadana Ṭhākura accompanied the Bengali devotees to Puri every year during Chaturmasya. He would dance with his uncle Narahari at the Rathayatra festival in the group formed by the residents of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata. He participated in the Keturi festival organized by Narottam Das Thakur at Gadadhar Das's and also at Gadadhar Das's festival in Katwa, and at the commemorative festival for Narahari Sarkar Thakur in Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata. Some people said, anyone who is dear to Raghunandan will win Mahaprabhu's mercy for life after life. Others said, Raghunandan is so merciful that he gives life to the humblest and fallen. Some said, what humility! There is no one who is his equal. And others, he is as beautiful as Cupid himself. That's from the Bhakti Ratnakar 9, verse 660. Sri Raghunanadana Thakur had great affection for Srinivasacharya. Prior to his disappearance, he consoled Srinivasacharya that despite the difficult times, he would be able to spread Vaishnavism in the future. So Raghunandan said, a difficult time is coming in which people will succumb to various doubts. Oh, maybe no, this is just from Bhakti Ratnakar, I'm guessing. Narahari Prabhu wrote in his Śrī Krishna Bhajanamrita, Krishna Chaitanya Chandrena Nityanandena Samhrite Avatare Kalavasmin Vaishnava Sarva Evahi Bhavishyanti Sado Vigna Kale Kale Dine Dine Praya Snigd Sandigdak Hridaya Uttamet Tara Madhyama. That's verses 3 to 4 of Śrī Krishna Bhajanamrita by Narahari Prabhu. Once our Lord Krishna Chaitanya and his companion Nityananda Prabhu have completed their pastimes in the material world, the Vaishnavas in this age of Kali will become more anxious with every passing day. Whether very advanced, somewhat advanced, or neophyte, their hearts will nearly always be filled with doubt. Wow. But don't let this worry you. Lord Gauranga will accomplish many great works through you. I bless you that you remain long on this earth, and that you and your followers protect our Lord's religion. Those who are opposed to devotion to Krishna will become devotees by your influence, and they will take shelter of you. That's from the Bhakti Ratnakar, chapter 13, verses 174 to 179. I've never read Bhakti Ratnakar. I really want to read it sometime, though. It seems really interesting. Raghunanadana Thakur bequeathed the service of his Gaur Gopal deity to his son Kanai Thakur, and then left this world on the 4th day of the waxing moon, Shukla Chaturthi, in the month of Shravan. Kanai Thakur gave a feast as a part of his father's last rites. Raghunandan slowly became hidden to mortal eyes while repeating the names of Sri Krishna Chaitanya again and again. How glorious is that day of Shravan Shukla Chaturthi, that's what we're in right now. Will anyone not sing the glories of Raghunandan Thakur? That's from Bhakti Ratnakar 13, verses 183 to 184. Jai Shri Raghunandan Thakur ki Jai. Okay, so now, is there something about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja here? Let's see. If not, we can read from my Gurudev's. No, there is right here. Because my Gurudev also writes about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja in the Navadvīpa-dhāma Parikramā book. But we'll read from here. By Śrīla Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Srila Vāṁśīdāsa, and let me just check the comments. Haribol, Sudevi Didi, and Raseshwari Mataji, and Jayadev Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Oh, and let me just see really quick. Oh, and Haribol, Nari Hari Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Okay. Srila Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja. This article is based on other articles that previously appeared in the old Gaudiya magazine and various statements made by Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Ṭhākura and his disciples. The Paramahamsa Avadut. One second, just drinking some water. Oh wow, this looks kind of long. Anyways, maybe we won't read all of it. We'll just read the beginning part. The Paramahamsa Avadut. Srila Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja appeared in the village of Majidpur in the Myamang Singh district of current Bangladesh, near the city of Jamalpur. The names of Bābājī Mahārāja's parents are not known. There's a picture of him. Let's see a bigger picture of him. I'm just gonna go to the internet. Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī. Let's just type in that. Let's see what comes up. Images. Here's a picture. Anyways, that's not such a big picture, but yeah, see there. There's Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja. Okay. So Bābājī Mahārāja came to Navadvīpa from East Bengal. He was a Paramahamsa Vaishnava who acted in the manner of an Avadut. You know what Avadut means, right? I wonder what definition they give here. Anyways, there. The word Avadut refers to one who is shaken free from all worldly feeling and obligation. He does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashram Dharma, and he is quite eccentric in his behavior. Nityananda Prabhu is often characterized as an Avadut. Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī lived in Navadvīpa under a tree on the banks of the Ganga, demonstrating a very high standard of renunciation. Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Ṭhākura was attracted by his Paramahamsa Vaishnava behavior and his disregard for the rules and regulations of society at large. Śrīla Prabhupada himself paid his obeisances to Bābājī Mahārāja from a distance, but he did not allow his disciples to go near him. For though Bābājī Mahārāja was a Paramahamsa Vaishnava, an ordinary beginner in devotional practice would likely misunderstand his indifference to the rules and regulations and end up committing offenses at his feet. The primary purpose of the rules and regulations is to bring pleasure to Śrī Śrī Radha Govinda. A practitioner who has not yet overcome his mundane conditioning may very well judge an advanced Vaishnava according to rules and regulations which were designed to help him, this practitioner, advance to the next level of spiritual realization. If he measures a perfected soul by the standards which have been set for the beginner, then, as a result of committing offenses, he falls down from the devotional path. It is said that Bābājī Mahārāja had 2 cloth bags. He kept his Nitāi Gaur deities in one and Radha Govinda in the other. He regularly worshipped them, taking them out of the bags and serving them mentally with mantras. Then, after the worship, he had placed the deities back in their bags. On occasion, he would leave them outside so that people could look at them. Once in a while, he would offer tobacco See, this is what it's meant by he was avadut. Once in a while, he would offer tobacco to Radha Govinda in a hookah, but not to Nitāi Gauranga. Many people would come bringing offerings of rice, fruits, vegetables, flowers, or bananas, but Bābājī Mahārāja would ignore them. When he noticed an accumulation of such offerings, he would mentally offer them to his deities, and then distribute the remnants to whoever happens to be present. Who can understand such God, I have a hard time saying that word, enigmatic behavior? Bābājī Mahārāja was tall enough to be able to pick fruits for his puja from the high branches of a tree without making use of ladders or other paraphernalia. On one occasion, he fell from a tree, and from that time on, he took the guise of a lame person. He only wore a kopin, a strip of cloth covering his private parts, and left his hair and beard uncut and unkempt. Bābājī Mahārāja's voyage to Vraj. Let's just see another image of. I bet I can get a more high resolution picture of this. Oh wow, there's a whole book written about him. That's interesting. Oh, whoa, I've never seen this picture before. Wow. Wow, he had very long legs. That's like very long. It almost doesn't look real. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Bābājī Mahārāja's voyage to Vraj. Bābājī Mahārāja did not stay exclusively in the Navadvīpa area, but traveled to many holy places where he also performed his spiritual practices. He embodied the verse Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, and wherever he went, he always remained immersed in the ocean of Krishna Ras. Therefore, everything reminded him of Krishna Lila, but especially the banyan tree. Whenever he saw a banyan tree, he would sit under it, taking it to be Vaṁśīdāsa, under which Krishna played his flute to attract the gopis. Once he had stationed himself there, it would be difficult to get him to move. On the 12th of Falgun, that's Monday, February 24th in 1941, Bābājī Mahārāja left Navadvīpa city and headed for Vrindavan. He sometimes walked, sometimes he traveled by ox cart, and sometimes by rail. He first went to Katwa, where he stayed for 2 days under a banyan tree, near the train station. Then he took the train to Bhagalpur, where he stayed for 1 day under the banyan tree, near the station, and for 4 days by the Ganga. Then he traveled on to Gaya, where he remained on the banks of the Falgu river for 3 days. He also stayed on a boat in the Ganga, near Dash Ashwamedha Ghat in Benares for 3 days, spent another 3 days in Ayodhya by the Sarayu river, including 3 hours under a vat tree at the Triveni confluence at Prayag. And then he also stayed at the Triveni confluence at Prayag for 10 days. 2 days at the Vishram Ghat in Mathura, 8 days at the Vaṁśīdāsa in Vrindavan, 9 days at the Madhyachada on the banks of the Yamuna, and 1 day at the Govinda temple, 2 days at Kaliyadaha, 8 days under a tamal tree on the east bank of Suryakund at Nandagram, 2 days at Pavan Sarovar, 4 days at the foot of a pilu tree, and then another 9 days at Vaṁśīdāsa Ghat in Vrindavan. So he's in Vaṁśīdāsa altogether for 18 days, right? No, for 17 days. Everywhere he went, he remained absorbed in chanting the holy names and meditating on Krishna's form and pastimes. After 3 months, he returns to Navadvīpa-dhāma in the month of Jeshta. Those who travel with Bābājī Mahārāja recounted that wandering through Vraj Mandal, he would sometimes sing songs about Krishna's pastimes, sometimes glorify Navadvīpa-dhāma, sometimes chant loudly, sometimes laugh madly, sometimes he would babble incoherently, and oftentimes he would remain completely silent. When visiting a temple, he was often seen muttering confidentially to the deities, disclosing some personal sentiment to them. All in all, his companions were charmed by his devotional absorption. In the old Gaudiya, the weekly magazine of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada, further accounts of Bābājī Mahārāja's travels were given. It is stated there that between 1943 and 1944, he traveled to Ambika Kalna, Kharagpur, Baleshwar, Shoro, Bhadrak, Khorda Road, and Purushottam Dham, that's Jagannath Puri Dham. Afterwards, he again visited Gaya, Kashi, Saidpur, Patna, Munger, etc. After traveling to all these places, some devotees from his birthplace in Majidpur invited him to come for a visit. He acquiesced to their enthusiasm, but found little pleasure in going. He said that it was a place which the Pandavas had neglected. Pandavan Varjita Desh. Okay, so here there's an explanation of Śrī Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj's encounter with Mahārāja Bābājī Maharaj, and also Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj's reminiscences. And then Bābājī Maharaj's teachings. I'd love to read this, but I think we should start our Caitanya-bhāgavata reading because it's now 7:30. Yeah. Maybe after the reading, for our little after party part, we can read from this. But I don't want, for those who don't have so much time, I don't want to make things late. So I'm going to move on. We'll do the Mangalacharan. Caitanya-bhāgavata Mangalacharan. Let's begin. Just checking the comments. 1 second. Okay. Ajnanatirmirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Śrī Gurave namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujo kanakavadato sankirtanaikapitaro kamalaya-taksho Vishvambaro Dijavaro Yugadharmapalo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro. Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha. Avatirno Sakarunyo Parichinno Sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje. Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalaya Tekshana Varajanu Vilambi Sharbhujo Kauda Bhakti Rasabhinartaka. Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra. Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishveshamurter. Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam. Ādi Śrī Caitanya Goshtir Charane Ashisha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname. Tabe Vando Śrī Krishna Caitanya Maheshwar Navadvīpa-dhāma Nama Vishvambhar Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya devi tvam nayamang charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparada lakshya kshiptashtakamaditaranga madhe kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna Vrinde namaste charanāravindam Bhaja Śrī Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, let's sing the. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Śrīla Ṭhākura from Śrī Caitanya-Charitamrita Adi-lila, chapter 8, verses 33 to 42. Ore mura loka shuno Caitanya mangal Caitanya mahima jate jani beshakal Krishna lila bhagavate koi Vyas Caitanya lila das Vrindavana dasa koilo Caitanya mangal Jahara shavane nashe sarvaya mangal Caitanya nitāi jate jani e mahima Jate jane Krishna bhakti siddhanter sima Bhagavate jato bhakti siddhanter sar Likhi achen iha jani koriya udhar Caitanya mangal shune jadi pashandi javan Seho maha vaishnava hoy tatakhan Manushe rachite nare aiche granta dhanya Vrindavana dasa mukhe vakta Śrī Caitanya Vrindavana dasa pade koti namaskar Aiche granta korite ho tarila sangsar Narayani Caitanyer uchishta bhajan Tar garbe janmila Śrī dasa Vrindavan Tar ki arbhuta Caitanya charita varnan Jahara shavane shuddha koilo tribhuvan Sahaje vichitra madhur Caitanya vihar Vrindavana dasa mukhe amriter dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet, and when they are described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai, Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai, Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai. One second, while that's loading, I'm just going to get some more water. What's going on? Why is it taking so long to load? I opened this a while ago. Anyways, while we're waiting for this to load, maybe we can look at here. There's the table of contents. Let's recap all the chapters we went through. So, the first chapter of the Ādi-khaṇḍa is a summary of Lord Gaura's pastimes, Gaur Lila Sutra. Then the Lord's appearance, Prabhu Janma. Then the third chapter is calculation of the Lord's horoscope. What is it? It's Prabhu Koshti Ganan, I think. Then chapter 4 was the name-giving ceremony, the Namkaran, the childhood pastimes, the Bal Charita, and the thieves kidnapped the Lord, Chorapaharan. And chapter 5, God, what is taking so long? Okay, that's my mission for today. I'm going to divide this chapter into parts. Okay, then chapter 5 is eating the mendicant Brahman's offerings. Tartik, what is it? Tartik Viprana Bhojan. That's what the Bengali was. Then chapter 6 is the Lord begins studying and his childhood mischief. Prabhur Vidyaramba or Bal Chapalya. That's what the Bengali was. Then Shri Vishwarup takes sannyas. Vishwarup sannyas grahan. Then the disappearance of Jagannath Mishra. Oh, I forgot the word that they used for disappearance in the Bengali. But anyways. And now we finally come to chapter 9. That is Nityananda's childhood pastimes and Nityananda's travels to holy places. Finally finished loading. Okay. Chapter 9. Yes. Nityananda's childhood pastimes and travels to holy places. Yeah, I'd like to memorize the table of contents very well, very thoroughly, so that whenever we hear Mahaprabhu's Leela, we'll know exactly where it is, where to find it, and we'll know the whole sequence. Maybe one day we can do a little, practice thing, a little drill to try to memorize the whole sequence. Alright. So this is the Katha Sar by Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Mahārāja. Hari Bol Indira Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This chapter 9 describes the various dramas related to Shri Krishna, Ram, and Vaman that Srimad Nityananda Prabhu enacted up to his 12th year and his subsequent travel to the holy places up to the age of 20. On the order of Shri Gaurakrishna, Shri Anantadev personally appeared in the village of Ekachaka, in the district of Radhadesh, from the womb of Padmavati, the wife of Haroja. He appeared from the womb of Padmavati as Shri Nityananda Chandra. In the wake of his appearance, all the prevalent inauspicious symptoms were totally uprooted. In his childhood pastimes, Srimad Nityananda Prabhu and his associates' childhood friends remained engaged in imitating various pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sometimes he and his friends would form an assembly of the demigods, and someone dressed as Mother Earth, burdened by the atrocities of the demons. Then that boy playing as Mother Earth would come before that assembly and offer prayers. At that time, Srimad Nityananda Prabhu and the boys, who were part of that assembly, would go to the bank of the river and pray to Lord Kshiradakshai. They'd pray to Lord Kshiradakshai on the milk ocean. Thereafter, a boy enacting as Kshiradakshai would announce from a hidden place, "I will soon appear in Mathura Gokul in order to diminish the burden of the earth." I was trying to do a boy's voice. At other times, they imitated the various Vāpāra pastimes of Krishna, like the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki, the birth of Krishna in the prison cell, Vasudev's taking Krishna to the house of Nanda, Vasudev's return with Mahamaya, the daughter of Yashoda, the killing of Putana, the breaking of Shakota, Krishna's stealing butter and milk from the house of the cowherds, the killing of Dhenuka, Agha, and Bakasura, tending the cows, lifting Govardhan, stealing the gopis' clothes, Krishna's bestowing mercy on the wives of the sacrificial brahmanas, Narad's giving advice to Kamsa in a secluded place, and the killing of the elephant Kuvalaya and the wrestlers Chanura and Mushtika and Kamsa. Sometimes, in the form of Vaman, he deceived Bali. Sometimes, while enacting the pastimes of Ram, he would gather his friends to form an army of monkey soldiers. And build a bridge. He would personally play the role of Lakshman and approach Sugriva with a bow and arrows in his hands. In the form of Ram, he would diminish the pride of Parshuram. And while enacting the killing of Indrajit, he would fall unconscious in the mood of Lakshman, having been hit by Indrajit's powerful arrow, until Hanuman brought medicine. Under his previous directions, his friends revived him. In this way, he exhibited pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, Srimad Nityananda Prabhu engaged in enacting various pastimes up to the age of 12. Thereafter, on the pretext of purifying himself, he traveled to the holy places of Aryavarta and Dakshinatya up to the age of 20. He then came to Navadvīpa and met his own Lord Śrī Gaurasundar. In the course of visiting the holy places, Nityananda Prabhu met with Sriman Madhavendra Puri, Shripad Ishvara Puri, and Śrīla Brahmananda Puri. In this way, Sriman Nityananda Prabhu passed a few days discussing topics of Krishna with Sri Madhavendra Puri, who was accompanied by his disciples. Thereafter, he proceeded to Setubandha, Dhanus Tīrtha, Mayapuri, Avanti, Godavari, Jiyar Nrsinga, Devapuri, Trimalla, Kurmakshetra, and many other holy places before arriving in Nilachal. At Nilachal, he saw Sri Jagannath Dev, the source of the Chaturvyuha, and became overwhelmed in ecstasy. From Śrī Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, he returned to Śrī Mathura. This chapter ends with an explanation of why he did not exhibit the pastime of distributing the holy names and love of God at that time. And then there's a glorification of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, who is non-different from the omnipotent Baladev. So Ādi-khaṇḍa, chapter 9, verse 1. Jaya Jaya Śrī Krishna Caitanya Kripa Sindhu, Jaya Jaya Nityananda Agatir Bandhu. All glories to Śrī Krishna Caitanya, who is an ocean of mercy. All glories to Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, who is the friend of those who are ignorant of the goal of life. Jaya Dvaita Chandrer Jivana Dhana Pran, Jaya Srinivasa Gadadharir Nidhan. All glories to him who is the life, wealth, and soul of Shri Advaita Chandra. All glories to him who is the shelter of Shrivas and Gadadhar. Jaya Jagannatha Shachi Putra Vishrambar, Jaya Jaya Bhakta Vrinda Priya Anuchar. All glories to Lord Vishwambar, the son of Shachi and Jagannath. All glories to the devotees who are the beloved associates of the Lord. Purve Prabhu Shri Ananta Chaitanya Agyay, Radhe Avatirna Hoy Achin Lilay. On the order of Lord Chaitanya, Shri Anantadev had already appeared in Radha Desh and was engaged in various pastimes. Gaudiya Bhashya. In this connection, one should refer to the Ādi-khaṇḍa chapter 2, verses 31, verses 38 through 40, and verses 228 to 230. The word Lilaya means by manifesting his own eternal transcendental pastimes in this material world. In other words, by his own sweet will. Haro oja name pita mata parmavati. Eka chaka name grama Godeshvara Jati. His father's name was Harai Ojha, and his mother was Parmavati. Oh, it's Parmavati, sorry. Śrī Nityananda Prabhu appeared in the village of Ekachakra as the Lord of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Gaudiya Bhashya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. The surname Ojha is a corruption of the name Upadhyaya, which is used by the Maithila Brahmanas. For descriptions of Harai Pandit and Padmavati, one may refer to Ādi-khaṇḍa chapter 2, verse 39. For a description of Ekachaka, one may refer to Ādi-khaṇḍa chapter 2, verse 38. The word Godeshwar refers to Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, who is the Lord and Master of the Gaudiyas. Śrī Nityananda Prabhu destroys the living entities anarthas, or unwanted things, and afterwards, to the Gaudiyas, the supreme destination of service in the pure transcendental rasas of Vatsalya, Sakya, and Dasya. Yes, only Vatsalya, Sakya, and Dasya. And remember, we read that comment, that Gaudiya Bhashya. It says that the devotees in the rasas of Dasya, Sakya, and Vatsalya, they take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu, and the devotees who are following in Madhur Ras, they take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. The word Jati refers to Moreshwar Yati. The village Moreshwar or Mayureshwar, this is a famous trade center for silk cocoons and silk thread. In some person's opinion, this place was famous for its Shiva Linga. Another reading for Jati is Tati, which is derived from the word Tata or Tatai, meaning there, and is commonly used in ancient Bengali prose. Shishu hoite sustira subuddhi gunavan jeniya kandarpa koti lavanyer dham. From his childhood, Lord Nityananda was sober, intelligent, and the abode of all good qualities. His charming loveliness defeated that of millions of cupids. She hoite rade hoilo sarva sumangal durbikha daridra dosh kandilo shakal. The entire district of Radhadesh was filled with auspiciousness and devoid of famine and poverty from the time of his birth. Gaudiya Bhashya. One should refer to Ādi-khaṇḍa chapter 2, verse 133, and Ādi-khaṇḍa chapter 4, verses 47 to 48. On the appearance of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, the absence of kirtan and destitution in the form of materialistic pride were destroyed, and the chanting of Krishna's holy names and the propensity for his service were awakened in the hearts of the people. Je dine janmila Navadvīpa Gora Chandra Rade thaki hunkar korila Nityananda. The day that Lord Gaurachandra appeared in Navadvip, in Radhadesh, Lord Nityananda roared loudly. Ananta Brahmanda Vyapta Hoilo Hunkare Murchagata Hoilo Jena Shakala Sangsare. His roars spread throughout innumerable universes, and people of the entire world were practically rendered unconscious. Kato loko bolilek hoilo vajrapat, kato loka manilek parama utpat. Some people said it is a thunderbolt, while others thought it was a great calamity. That's how loud and thunderous, reverberating was the roar of Nityananda when Sachinanda and Gaurhari took birth. Kato loko bolile ka janilo karan, Kodeshwar Goshair hoilo garjan. Other people said, we know the cause. It was the loud roaring of Nityananda Goswami, the Lord of the Gaudiyas. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Godeshwar Goshai is explained as follows. Swarup Damodar Swarup, Mahaprabhu's Dvitiya Swarup, or second form, along with his two friends Rupa and Sanatan, were the proprietors of service to Krishna in the conjugal ras. They are also Godeshwar, or Godiyeshwar. That is why Śrī Nityananda Prabhu has been properly addressed as Godeshwar Goswami. Not just Godeshwar, but Godeshwar Goswami. E mata sarva loka nana kata gai, Nityanande keho nahi chini lo mayai. In this way, people had different opinions about what had happened, but no one could recognize Lord Nityananda due to the influence of his illusory energy. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Mayai refers to the influence of the illusory external energy of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, who is non-different from Śrī Baladev, the source of all Vishnu expansions. That bewilders the marginal living entities. Those who are under the control of the covering and throwing propensities of Lord Vishnu's illusory energy cannot understand the truth regarding Śrī Nityananda. Some illusions living entities say that Śrī Nityananda Prabhu was a Maitila Brahmana. Some say that he married into the house of a Bengali Radha Brahmins, and others say that he was born in a low-class family. By such deceptive propositions created by Maya, the truths regarding Śrī Nityananda are not understood. Moreover, others who are controlled by material intelligence also say that the seminal descendants of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu's son, Virabhadra, are as powerful as Śrī Nityananda, and therefore, on the basis of their seminal birth, they are on the same level as the Supreme Lord. If this were the fact, then why did this line come under the control of materialistic fruit of smartas who are engaged in enjoying the fruits of temporary activities? Yet others say that the three sons of Virabhadra were simply his disciples, because their sons were not born in the villages of Barudigai and Vattavyaligai. And therefore, by worldly consideration, they cannot be considered seminal sons of Virabhadra. Persons with material conceptions, being covered and thrown by the illusory external energy of Śrī Nityananda Prabhu, endeavor to establish a mundane relationship with them. Such people try to include and count Nityananda Prabhu among the conditioned living entities, and thus invite severe offense. This is why Śrī Nityananda Baladev's mysterious pastime of deceiving the demons. One second, I'm going to stand up for a little bit. Eno mate apana lukai Nityananda Shishu Sangha Kela Shishu Gana Sangha Kela Koren Ananda. Nityananda remained hidden as he enjoyed childhood pastimes with the other children. 1 second, just checking everything's okay. Yep. Right. শিশুগণ সঙ্গে প্রভু যত ক্রীড়া করে শ্রীকৃষ্ণের কার্য আর নাহি স্ফুরে. The pastimes that the Lord enjoyed with his childhood friends were all related to the activities of Lord Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Oops. It's hard to say. While Śrī Nityananda Ram Prabhu sported with his boyfriends, they would enact the pastimes of Gokul, Mathura, and Dwarka. In this way, he fulfilled the desires and assisted in the pastimes of his Lord Śrī Gaura Krishna. Deva Sabha Koren Miliya Shishu Gane Prithvir Rupe Keho Kore Nivedane Tobe Prithvi Loya Sabe Nadi Tire Jai Shishugan Meli Stuti Kore Urdhvarai Kon Shishu Lukaiya Urdhva Kori Bole Janmi Baya Giya Ami Mathura Gokule. He and his friends formed an assembly of demigods, and one of them, acting as Mother Earth, offered prayers to them. They then led Mother Earth to the riverbank, and the children all began to offer prayers. Then one of the boys, hidden from view, loudly declared, "I will soon take birth in Mathura, Gokul." Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Deva Sabha refers to the assembly of the demigods, known as Sudharma. The word Nadi Tire means on the shore of the milk ocean. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:1 verses 17 to 23, Sri Shukadeva Gosvāmī speaks to Parikramā Mahārāja as follows. Once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Mother Earth assumes the form of a cow. Very much distressed, with tears in her eyes, she appeared before Lord Brahma and told him about her misfortune. Thereafter, having heard of the distress of Mother Earth, Lord Brahma with Mother Earth, Lord Brahma with Mother Earth, Lord Shiva, and all the other demigods approached the shore of the ocean of milk. After reaching the shore of the ocean of milk, the demigods worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the Master of the whole universe, the Supreme God of all gods, who provides for everyone and diminishes everyone's suffering. When we're reading this, we can imagine Nityananda and his friends enacting this pastime. With great attention, they worshipped Lord Vishnu, who lies on the ocean of milk, by reciting the Vedic mantras known as the Purusha Sukta. While in trance, Lord Brahma heard the words of Lord Vishnu vibrating in the sky. Thus he told the demigods, "O demigods, hear from me the order of Kshiradakshai Vishnu, the Supreme Person, and execute it attentively without delay." Lord Brahma informed the demigods, "Before we submitted our petition to the Lord, he was already aware of the distress on earth. Consequently, for as long as the Lord moves on earth to diminish its burden by its own potency in the form of time, all of you demigods should appear through plenary portions as sons and grandsons in the family of the Yadus. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Krishna, who has full potency, will personally appear as the son of Vasudeva." Kona dina nisha bhage shishu gana loya Vasudeva devakir korayena viya. One evening, the Lord and his friends enacted the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki. Bandi ghar koriya atyanta nisha bhage Krishna janma korayen keho nahi jage. Then, late one night, while everyone slept, they made a prison and enacted the birth of Lord Krishna. Wow, they were really serious about this. They were in the middle of the night while everybody was asleep. They were enacting these pastimes. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Krishna Janma Korayen, enacted the birth of Lord Krishna, is elaborated in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.3.8 as follows. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon arising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Sri Krishna. The phrase Keho nahi jage, while everyone slept, is explained in the following passage of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.3.48. By the influence of Yogamaya, all the doorkeepers fell fast asleep, their senses unable to work, and other inhabitants of the house also, they fell deeply asleep. So everyone was asleep. Okay, verse 20. Gokula srijiya tati anen krishnere mahamaya dila loya bandila kangsere. They created a Gokul, and Krishna was taken there and exchanged with Mahamaya, thereby tricking King Kamsa. Gaudiya Bhashya. The pastimes mentioned in this verse are described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.3 verses 51 to 52 as follows. When Vasudeva reached the house of Nanda Mahārāja, he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. Thus he placed his own son on the bed of Yashoda and picked up her daughter, an expansion of Yogamaya, and then returned to his residence, the prison house of Kamsa. Vasudeva placed the female child on the bed of Devaki, bound his legs with the iron shackles, and thus remains there as before. The words Dila Loya, gave and took, refer to the point of this refers to the point of view of Yashoda, the resident of Raj. In this drama, the children playing Yashoda gave the child playing Mahamaya to the child playing Vasudeva, and took the child playing Krishna from him. Another reading of this passage is Loya Diya, took and gave. Okay, instead of Dila Loya, it's Loya Diya, which would then refer to the points of view of Vasudeva, the resident of Mathura prison. In that case, the child playing Vasudeva took the child playing Mahamaya from the child playing Yashoda and gave the child playing Krishna to her. And then gave the child playing Krishna to her, to Yashoda. Verse 21. Kona shishu sajayen putanar rupe kehostana pana kore uthitar bhuke. Another time, they dressed someone as Putana, and someone climbed on her chest to suck her breasts. Gaudiya Bhashya. Regarding Krishna's drinking milk from Putana's breast, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.6.10 states, on that very spot, the fiercely dangerous Rakshasi Putana took Krishna on her lap and pushed her breast into his mouth. The nipple of her breast was smeared with a dangerous, immediately effective poison. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, becoming very angry at her, took hold of her breast, squeezed it very hard with both his hands, and sucked out both the poison and her very life. 22. Konadina shishu sange nalakhari diya shakata goriyataha felen bhangiya. One day, Nityananda and his boyfriends made a shakata, or handcart, out of reeds, and then they broke it. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word nalakari refers to a type of tall grass in the form of hard, hollow sticks, also known as reeds. Breaking the handcart is described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.7 verses 7 to 8 as follows. Lord Sri Krishna was lying down underneath the handcart in one corner of the courtyard, and although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned over violently and collapsed. 23. Nikate vasaye jato gowalar ghare alakhite shishu sange giya churi kore. Another day, the Lord and his friends stole from the houses of the neighboring cowherdmen. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Gowala comes from the word Gowala, which is a corruption of the Sanskrit word Gopala. Interesting. Regarding Krishna stealing butter from the houses of the cowherdmen, in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.8.29, the gopis complain to Mother Yashoda about Krishna in the following words: Steyam swadata dadhi paya kalpitasteya yogai. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals palatable curd, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks. Now, verse 24. Tare chari shishugan nahi jai ghare ratri dina nityananda sanghati vihare. Beautiful verse. The boys never left Nityananda's association to go home, but these boys continued sporting with him day and night. Verse 25. Jahara balaka tara kichu nahi bole sabe sneha koriya rakhen loya kole. The children's parents did not complain. Rather, they would affectionately embrace Nityananda. Sabe bole nahi deki heno divya khela kemone janilo shishu eto Krishna lila. They said, "We have never seen such transcendental sports. How does this child know so many of Krishna's pastimes?" Konadina patrer goriya nagagan jale jai loya shakal shishugan. One day the Lord made snakes out of leaves and then took his friends to the water. Gaudiya Bhashya. In this verse, the word Nagagan refers to replicas of Kaliya and other serpents, and the word Jale refers to the water of the lake within the Yamuna. Jampadiya pore keho achishta hoiya Chaitanya korai pache apani asiya. One of them jumped into the water, Jampadiya. I love when the words are very similar. And so one of them jumped into the water and remains there inert. Later, the word brought him back to consciousness. Gaudiya Bhashya. The pastime is described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.15 verses 47 to 52 as follows. Once surrounded by his boyfriends, Krishna went without Balaram to Yamuna river, where the cows and cowherd boys became afflicted by thirst and were feeling acute distress from the glaring summer sun. When they drank the water of the Yamuna river that had been contaminated by the serpent's poison, all the cows and boys lost their consciousness and fell lifeless at the water's edge. At that time, Lord Krishna, the master of all masters of mystic potency, felt compassion for them and immediately brought them to life by showering his nectarian glance upon them. Verse 29. Gonadina talavane shishu ganaloya shishu sange talakai Dhenuka Maria. Another day, the Lord and his friends went to Talavan, where they killed Dhenukasura and then ate tal fruits. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.15.21, Talavan is described as Su Mahārvanam Talali Sankulam, a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. The words Dhenuka Maria mean by killing the demon Dhenuka. This pastime is described in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.15.32 as follows. Lord Balaram seized Dhenuka by his hooves, whirled him about with one hand, and threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling motion killed the demon. Shishushange goshte giya nana krida kore baka agha vatsasura kori taha mare. Nityananda and his childhood friends went into the fields and enjoyed various pastimes, such as the killing of Bakasura, Agasura, and Vatsasura. Gaudiya Bhashya. Regarding Goshte Nanakrida, various pastimes in the pasturing fields, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10:11 verses 39 to 40 states, sometimes Krishna and Balaram would play on their flutes. Sometimes they would throw ropes and stones devised for getting fruits from the trees. Sometimes they would throw only stones, and sometimes, their ankle bells tinkling, they would play football with fruits like bale and amalaki. Sometimes they would cover themselves with blankets and imitate cows and bulls, and they would fight with one another, roaring loudly. And sometimes they would imitate the voices of the animals. The killing of Bakasura is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10:11 verse 51 as follows. When Krishna, the leader of the Vaishnavas, saw that the demon Bakasura, the friend of Ādi-khaṇḍa, was endeavoring to attack him, with his arms he captured the demon by the two halves of the beak, and in the presence of all the cowherd boys, Krishna very easily bifurcated him, as a child splits a blade of virana grass. By thus killing the demon, Krishna very much pleased the denizens of heaven. The killing of Agasura is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10:12 verses 30 to 31 as follows. When the invincible Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas," from behind the clouds, he immediately enlarged himself within the demon's throat, just to save himself and the cowherd boys, his own associates, from the demon, who wished to smash them. Then, because Krishna had increased the size of his body, the demon extended his own body to a very large size. Nonetheless, his breathing stopped, he suffocated, and his eyes rolled here and there, and popped out. My Gurudeva would always say, popped out like rasgulas. The demon's life air, however, could not pass through any outlet, and therefore it finally burst out through a hole in the top of the demon's head. The killing of Vatsasura is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10:11-43 as follows. Thereafter, Sri Krishna caught the demon by the hind legs and tail and twirled the demon's whole body very strongly until the demon was dead, and threw him into the top of a kapita tree, which then fell down along with the body of the demon who had assumed a great form. Verse 31. Vikale aise ghar goshtir sahite shishugana shange shringa baite baite. In the afternoon, the Lord and his associates returned home blowing buffalo horns. Gaudiya Bhashya. The musical instrument shringa is made from a horn and is called shingha and vishana. Baite baite comes from the word bai, which is a corruption of the word badan, which is a corruption of the Sanskrit verb vadi. Kona dina kore govardhana dhara lila vrindavana rachi kona dina kore khela. One day they enjoyed the pastimes of lifting Govardhan hill, and another day they created Vrindavan, wherein they enjoyed various sports. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Govardhan Dhara Lila, lifting Govardhan hill, is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10:25-19 as follows. Lord Krishna picked up Govardhan hill with one hand and held it aloft just as easily as a child holds up an umbrella. The word rachi means created. Verse 33. What verse are we reading up to? 1 second, just checking. 42, okay. Kona dina kore gopir vasana haran, kona dina kore jagya patni darashan. One day, they enacted Krishna's pastime of stealing the gopis' clothes. And another day, they enacted his meeting the wives of the brahmanas. Uh-oh. Sorry guys, my microphone fell down and hit the keys, and so I made a change somewhere. While we're waiting for this to load, I'll drink some water. It's 8:22. I wonder if we should just stop early today and read more about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja, and then we can continue on tomorrow. Let's see if this takes longer than... Okay, look, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, Shubhanandaru says yes. Okay, we're going to do that. All right, so today we're reading only up to verse 33, and we'll continue on tomorrow. Jai Shri Nityanandaru ki jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Yeah, because there's a lot more about the Leelas that Nityanandaru read. We're going to be reading about them for a few days. So, maybe for a couple more days. Alright, so, back to Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja. Let's see. Okay, we just read all this and all that and all that. Now, Śrīla Madhav Gosvāmī, Śrīla Bhakti, this is Śrīla Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Maharaj. Yeah, this is from his book, Śrī Caitanya and His Associates. We already read the first part in the beginning of today's reading. And these are from the Gaudiya articles from Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Śrīla Madhav Gosvāmī Maharaj's encounter with Bābājī Maharaj, with Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, whose disappearance day it is today. The founding Acharya of Śrī Caitanya Gaudiya Math, my spiritual master, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Shishimad Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Maharaj, told his disciples a story about a personal encounter he had with Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj. Gurudeva founded an ashram. Gurudev Śrīla Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Maharaj founded an ashram in Medinipur city, Śrī Shyamananda Gaudiya Math, with the help of two of his godbrothers, Śrīla Bhakti Vichara Jajavar Gosvāmī Maharaj and Śrīla Bhakti Kumud Santa Gosvāmī Maharaj. On one occasion, Bābājī Maharaj was traveling and he passed through Medinipur. When Gurudev receives the news that Bābājī Maharaj was coming with a group of devotees by ox cart, he immediately sent a disciple to invite them and his other companions to visit the math. Bābājī Maharaj promised the disciple that he would come, and so Gurudev started to make preparations to receive the party of pilgrims. However, after the midday offering and arati, no one from Bābājī Maharaj's party came. Śrīla Gurudev waited for some time, and finally took several of his disciples and went looking for him. When Bābājī Maharaj had entered the city with his party, he had seen a vata tree and had taken it to be Vangshivat. He had camped there and plans to make an offering to his deities and feed his party there. When he saw Gurudev, Bābājī Maharaj remembered his affection for Śrīla Prabhupada and offered him some sweet rice prasad, which Gurudev accepted respectfully. I often heard Gurudev say how delicious that the sweet rice tasted that day. Wow, so Śrīla Bhakti Madhav Goswami had darshan of Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj. Now, Śrīla Puri Goswami Maharaja's reminiscences. Our Shiksha Guru, the most revered Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, also told us a few anecdotes about Bābājī Maharaj, incidents that he had witnessed personally. Once, a pile of fruit intended for the service of the deities had accumulated at Bābājī Maharaj's cottage by the Ganga, and Baba would not let anyone lay a finger on it. One day, however, a cow entered the cottage and ate all the fruits. Though they tried, no one was able to drive the cow away. Meanwhile, Bābājī Maharaj watched and laughed, clapping his hands. Out of curiosity, I asked Baba's disciple, whose name was Punya, why Baba was laughing. He said, "Last night, a thief stole all the deities and cooking pots. Now, a cow has come and eaten all the fruits. So he is beside himself with joy and is laughing, saying, saying, one thief gives and another thief takes away. Krishna is the supreme thief. Then Śrīla Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj continues. Bābājī Maharaj never allowed anyone to touch his feet, except once on the day after Falguni Purnima, the festival celebration of Jagannath Mishra. So on the festival celebration of Jagannath Mishra, Bābājī Maharaj was so ecstatic that he forgot his rule and became as generous as a desire tree. So on that day, I was fortunate enough to get the dust of his lotus feet. I also had the good fortune of getting his prasadi leftovers. We have heard that Śrīla Bābājī Maharaj took Bābājī Vesh from our Param Gurudev, Śrīla Gaur Kishore Das Bābājī Maharaj. Bābājī Maharaj relished hearing devotional songs. One day, he heard Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur's couplet, Tyajiya Shayana Shuka Vichitra Palanka Kabe Vrajer Dhulai Dusar Habe Anga. That's actually by Narottam Das Thakur. That's the song Hari Hari Kabe Habo Vrindavanavasi. Anyways, when will I give up the pleasure of sleeping in a comfortable bed and roll in the dust of Vrindavan? Tears rolled down from his eyes and his voice choked. Bābājī Maharaj said, "You are only singing a song. It only bursts open for those who have burst open." The song only bursts open for those who have burst open. In other words, we only sing the songs of the Mahājans. We only sing the songs of the Mahājans, but we feel no emotion. When the dust of the holy places covers our bodies, we only think of brushing it off. We have no real idea of its value. Another day, however, someone started singing one of these new-fangled invented mantras that contradicts Siddhanta and divine sentiment. Bābājī Maharaj said, "That name is not allowed here." One gentleman often came to visit Bābājī Maharaj and kept asking him for his mercy. One day, Baba finally became impatient. He took off his kopin and handed it to the gentleman and said, "You want my mercy? Here it is, take it." The visitor was frightened by the manner in which Bābājī challenged him. We have heard that all perfections come from the grace of the Vaishnavas, but we do not have the sincerity necessary really to take their blessings when they are given. What is the use of repeatedly imploring them to be merciful if we don't really mean it, if we're not ready to take their mercy? We had an elderly godbrother named Gokul Das Bābājī. His family home was not far from that of Bābājī Maharaj. Gokul Das Bābājī went frequently to see Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, and when they got together, they would joyfully converse about Krishna in their Mīmaṅsika dialect. Interesting. Mīmaṅsika dialect. Okay, it's 8:30. If anybody needs to go, you're totally free to go. But I just want to read this about Bābājī Mahārāja's teachings and then we'll end. So yeah, just checking every 1 second. Indira Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. If you're going now, or if you're staying then. Yeah, and then everybody else, Jayade Pradhan, Raseshwari Mataji, Sudevi Didi, Vidyalala Sadidi, Karuna Didi, and everybody here on Zoom. Yeah, pranams. If you're leaving now, that's totally fine. Otherwise, we'll read to the end. Kishore Prabhu, Shubhananda Prabhu, and Champak Didi. Okay. So, Bābājī Mahārāja's teachings. Bābājī Mahārāja, so 1 second. Bābājī Mahārāja was normally occupied with his devotional activities. He minded his own business and spoke very little. He would talk to his deities, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying desperately, but he did not speak much to others. Many people would come to him. Often they would ask him questions. Mostly he remained silent, and if he took any notice at all, he would usually answer indirectly. If he did give spiritual instruction, he would rarely cite scripture, but always spoke from his personal realization. In 2 or 3 short phrases, he would make a deep impression on the listener. Once he had a regular visitor who kept asking him, "How can we attain God?" Bābājī Mahārāja just remained silent, giving the questioner no answer. One day, he suddenly looked at his visitor and asked him, "What do you want?" The fellow replied, "I want to find God." Bābājī Mahārāja answered in one word, "Cry." Those who visited him occasionally reported the short answers that he gave to their questions. Some of these were noted down and are given here. Question: Baba, what should we do? Answer: if you worship Nitāi, you will get gore. All your unhappiness will disappear and you will begin to feel real joy. Question: how can one become free from the demands of the senses? Answer: Shuniya Govinda Rava Apani Palabe Sab Singharabe Jatha Korigan. They will all flee at the sound of Govinda's name, just as the deers flee at the sound of the lion's roar. That's from Prem Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Ṭhākura. Question: Baba, is there no happiness even in your world? Answer: there is no joy here unless you worship Gaur Nitāi. This is my eternal world, while this world of yours is like an illusion. This world of yours is an illusion. Happiness in this world is like the laughing or crying of a dreaming baby. Question: how can we tell if we have received the blessings of Krishna or the Vaishnavas? Answer: Je kore tomar ash, tare koro sarvanash. You ruin everything for someone who aspires to attain you. Kaha ke otaka de, kaharo taka ne. To some he gives money, while he makes others penniless. Tomastane aparade nahi paritran. There is no pardon for an offense at your feet, O Vaishnav Ṭhākura. So Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja says, why false vanity? Who will deliver you? To whom should I explain, and who will understand? I haven't got the slightest bit of attachment to the Vaishnavas. Question: how will I attain Krishna's mercy? Answer: you will get his mercy by crying. Who really cries? If you cry with tears of love, you will get the Lord's mercy. Mukhe bolo hari kaje anya kori prema vari choke elona. I recite Hari's names, but I act otherwise, so the tears of love do not well up in my eyes. Question: how can we be happy? In renunciation or in enjoyment? Answer: there are saintly persons on the Sarayu river who chant the names of Sita Ram. They are happy. They know no distress. Those who stay with King Duryodhana know no joy. Those who are with King Yudhishthira are happy. Happiness and distress, enjoyment and renunciation are twins. Some people enjoy and some people renounce. Question: have you ever been to Mayapur? Answer: yes. Some call it Mayapur, some call it Navadvīpa. There are buildings all over the Mayapur temple site, and the deity is worshipped under a neem tree. I once went to Mayapur with a torn wrapper and a water pot. Shachinandan Gosai, Mahaprabhu, came and took my water pot. I sat down and waited, and a few minutes later, Shachinandan Gosai came and gave it back. Then I came back here. Wow, very mysterious. Bābājī Mahārāja's disappearance day was the Shravan Shukla Chaturthi. And then there's also another thing in my Gurudev's Navadvīpa-dhāma Parikramā book. He tells a story there. Let's just find it. It comes after Jagannath Das Bābājī, I think. Where would it be? It's not in Antardvīp. It's not in Samantadvīp. I think it's here in Koladvīp. There it is. Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja. Okay. So this is by my Śrīla Gurudev, Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. It's very short. The highly exalted Śrīla Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja, a contemporary of Śrīla Gaura-Kiṣora Bābājī Mahārāja, was completely dedicated to bhajan. On the bank of the Ganga in Kulia's Nutan Chada, he built a hut where he performed his bhajan. He worshipped his Śrī Gaura-Nitānanda deities with bhav seva, serving them with great love and affection, sometimes reproaching them, sometimes fighting and quarreling with them, and sometimes crying in separation from them. Even great philosophers were confounded by his fathomless attachment to his deities and the sentiments hidden within his heart. Once, when he was picking flowers from a kaner tree next to his bhajan kutir, a young boy forbade him to do so, and an argument ensued. The boy pushed Bābājī Mahārāja, who fell and hurt his feet. Bābājī returned to his hut, threatening Śrī Gaura-Nitānanda, saying, "Why did you send me to pick flowers? And why did this boy push me? I will not serve you." He became sulky, but Bābājī was unable to stay in this mood for long, and soon he again became absorbed in his service. He used to become so blissfully absorbed in Nam Bhajan that he would forget to follow Ekadashi, and on other occasions he would observe Ekadashi for 3 or 4 days, even fasting from water. He was avadut. Sometimes he greatly glorified Nityananda Prabhu and would call Mahaprabhu mischievous. That's interesting, you'd think it'd be the other way around. Sometimes, to avoid materialistic people and materialistic so-called Vaishnavas, he would throw impure items like fish bones and fins around his hut so that ordinary men would think him low class and stay away from him. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati acknowledged him as a Siddha Mahapurush and greatly honored him, and Srila Saraswati Thakur's disciples would visit him. It was very difficult to understand Srila Bābājī Mahārāja's manner of speaking and his moods, because he was always roaming in the internal kingdom of bhakti. Jai. Śrīla Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja ki jai. Alright, so it's 8:41. We went 11 minutes overtime. I'll end for now. Karuna Didi staying. Cool. You're here from the very beginning till the very end every day. So it's really appreciated. Alright, so we'll just do a little kirtan, or maybe I'm just looking at the chat 1 second. Okay, Hari Bol Shubhananda Prabhu. Actually, maybe for Raghunanadana Ṭhākura and Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, we can quickly sing Jayanila Premadana, and then we'll do Jayadvani and end our reading for today. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll just open up this Gaudiya Giti Gucha file. Where is it? Jayanila Premadana. It'll be here. And I'll just sing it one time through. I'm not going to do lead and response. 1 second. Let me just get the mridanga. Jayanila Premadana Karuna Prachor Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Yacharya Ṭhākura Kahamon Swarup Rupa Kaha sanatan, kaha dasa Raghunata patita pavan, kaha mor bhatta juga, kaha kaviraj, eka kale Kota Gela Gora Nataraj Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Poshibo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pabo Sheshava Sangir Shange Je Koilo Vilas Sheshangana Paya Kande Narotama Das Jayanila Prem Dana Karuna Prachor Heno Prabhu Kotha Gela Acharya Ṭhākura Heno Prabhu Kotha Gela Raghunanadana Ṭhākura Heno Prabhu Kotha Gela Jaya Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Ṭhākura Swapashara Jaya Gora Hari Swapashara Jaya Gora Hari Jaya Raghunanadana Ṭhākura Raghunanadana Ṭhākura Raghunanadana Jaya Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Ṭhākura Mahārāja Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja Jaya Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitāi Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, O Gaur Hari Bol, Nitāi Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Gurudeva ki Jai, Śrīla Param Gurudev ki Jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nugagoriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Swaparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, and Shri Raghunanadana Ṭhākura ki Jai, Tadiya Shubhatirabhav Titi ki Jai, Shri Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Mahārāja, Tadiya Shubhatirabhav Titi ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki Jai, Śrīla Vrindavandas Ṭhākura ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-charitamrita ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Śrīman Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Nityananda Prabhu's Balacharita ki Jai, his childhood pastimes ki Jai, all the friends, all the young friends of Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, and they're enacting all the pastimes in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki Jai. So, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitāi Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bol.
Also, the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary of Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada ki Jai. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradade Satyavadaya Namo Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Oh wow, all 7 of you stayed for Haribol Vidyalalasa Didi and Karuna Didi and everybody. Wow, it seems all of you stayed for all of this, even though I went so far over time. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end. Oh, Champak Didi had to go though. But anyhow, yeah. So, Kishore Prabhu, you have anything to add? Anything about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, Raghunanadana?
Jai Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj.
Jai ho.
Jai ho. Yeah, Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj. You know, he used to sing Nitāi Parikramā a lot. He'd like to sing Nitāi Parikramā.
Really?
Yeah. He had a very intimate relationship with his Nitāi Gaur deities, Radha Krishna deities.
Wow.
You know,
It's getting a bit. It's getting a bit late now, but since we're reading about Nityananda Prabhu, and actually probably for you it'll be Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj's day tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay, so in honor of Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj and chapter 9, which we're reading, and it will be for you Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj's day, we'll sing Nitāi Parikramā tomorrow morning.
Nice.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī. Shall we end here or?
Sure. Unless you had something that you wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, I could go on, but I don't know.
Okay, why don't you tell one short thing, and then we can end.
Whatchamacallit? Once Bhakti-san Saraswati Prabhupada went to visit Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, and Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī said, "Oh, a manjari has come."
Wow. Amazing.
You know, Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj, he would often quote this: "Chodne diya, chodne liya." One thief gave and another thief took. Whenever anything was stolen from the house, he would say, "One thief gave, another thief took." Sometimes if something was stolen, he would argue with his deities, like, "Who did you give this to, Gaur? Who did you give this to, Nitāi?" Like once a pot was stolen, and he said, Today Gaur will not eat." Today Nitāi will eat because he has his pot, but Gaur will not eat. Sometimes, and he was avadut. Sometimes he would give tobacco to his Radha Krishna deities. And then one devotee asked him, won't you offer tobacco to Gaur Nitāi? And Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī said, no, they will not take. Bhakti Pragan Kesha Maharaj also met, or Śrīla Gurudeva also met Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj. I don't know the details though, but it's written in Acharya Keshari.
Wow. Amazing.
Sometimes someone would come to Bābājī Maharaj and they would ask him, like, Bābājī Maharaj, would you like some chai? Our Bhakti Vaibhav Maharaj was there, so he remembers this. Like how people would ask him, like, Bābājī Maharaj, do you want some chai? And Bābājī Maharaj would say, oh yes, let's go have some chai.
Avadut.
Yeah. He also had a dialect. He had his own Bengali dialect from Vāṁśīdāsa.
Yeah, that's what we just right. We just read that him and this other Babaji, I forgot what Babaji's name was. They would speak. It was called Meemengar or something like that dialect.
Yeah, Singh dialect. Yeah.
Singh.
It was from what I hear, it was really difficult to understand him when he would speak. But he did speak standard Bengali though. Once he was singing one of our Acharya songs, and but then he changed the original song to his dialect. And the devotee, and a devotee was telling him, a devotee from the Gaudiya Math was telling him, Bābājī Maharaj, the correct Bengali is like this, and Bābājī Maharaj got really mad at him.
Wow. Are there wait, is that the end of that story?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kishore, do you have a lot more stories about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj? Because if so, maybe you can share them with us tomorrow.
Sure,
like
I can do that.
For you, Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj. Okay, cool. Yeah, because this is very interesting. I didn't know so much about Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj before. So this is very cool. All right, Jai Vāṁśīdāsa Bābājī Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Dandavat pranams, everybody.
Gaur Haribol.
Haribol. Gaur Haribol. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.